guys, it's Kiki, and I wanted to recap an Oprah show that I saw the other day. So they're rerunning the Best of Oprah on OWN, her network, and I saw this episode that I didn't catch the first time around, however many years ago it was on. The episode is called The Science of Beauty, and Dr. Oz was on. This is before he had his own show, and he and his partner, Dr. Roizen, I think, had written a book called I don't know what it was called, but anyway, so they were discussing how a lot of the markers that we look at as beautiful are also health indicators, so the two are related. So I'm just gonna read through the notes that I took because there's some really cool and valuable information in here. So why are we talking about beauty? He says, if your skin, hair, and nails and teeth don't look good, like if something's going on with them, it could be a sign of a deeper issue health-wise. A Reuters poll reported that the top three beauty concerns that women were reporting are wrinkles, age spots, and sagging. So Dr. Oz had some tips regarding all those different things. So he says, how to prevent wrinkles. Use creams with vitamins A, C, and E. I feel like we've all heard that a million times, you know, antioxidant creams. He says especially vitamin A helps block bad things from happening and actually turns on cells that activate collagen making, so you're producing more collagen. Then he says, put a niacin cream on your skin. Now this I feel like is something I was hearing for the first time. I had heard about antioxidants a million times. So when I heard about niacin, I went and looked through my products to see if I was already using anything that had niacin in it. And I have this tube of Strivectin, which, you know, was originally the cream for stretch marks, but now is marketed as a skin cream. And it has something called Nia 114 in it, which I think is their like proprietary invention of how to deliver niacin to the skin. So this has niacin in it. And then, as luck would have it, I just got this CC Plus Airbrush Perfecting Powder Compact from IT Cosmetics. And it's just a powder compact, but it says right on the front with anti-aging peptides, collagen, niacin, and antioxidants. So I don't know how valuable it is to have niacin just in a powder, but it's in there. And I got this at QVC, which I think for now anyway is the only place you can get it. Okay, and then, so the third is exfoliate. So use creams with A, C, and E, niacin, and exfoliate. Okay, so that's wrinkles. Secondary concern is age spots. First thing, what are they gonna say? Use a sunscreen, we all know that. Other ways to prevent age spots, use skin creams with vitamin C, which is usually called ascorbic acid if you're reading an ingredient label. Vitamin A, which is gonna be called retinol, retinoic acid, retin something. And it doesn't say vitamin E here, but I should mention that vitamin E is called tocopherol if you're reading an ingredient list. So it says vitamin C and A can undo some damage that's already been done. And then licorice extract, which I guess you can find in creams. Again, I haven't been looking for it, but it slows down the creation of melanin, which is what creates those age spots. Then it also says put niacin cream on your skin. Niacin prevents melanin from getting to the skin. So licorice extract slows down the creation and niacin prevents it from actually depositing in your skin. And then see a dermatologist or plastic surgeon to get bleaching creams, laser therapy, or chemical peels. So that's age spots. They said there's annually in America $50 billion spent on beauty treatments. There was a woman who also did a segment or a couple of segments named Paula Abdul. I don't know how you pronounce that, Begoun. She wrote the book Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me and does a lot of research on products. So she talked about cleansers, and she said any cleanser that you're using needs to be gentle How can you tell if it's gentle or not? She said when you have it on and then, you know, your cleanser, and then you go to splash your face with water, it should not irritate your eyes. So that's how you know it's gentle. And good examples are CeraVe, which was an inexpensive brand that I had never heard of, and Olay foaming face wash. And she said, she reiterated the importance of exfoliating. She said it's important for all skin types. And there's a brand called Alpha Hydrox, the original. They make a product called Enhanced Lotion 10% Glycolic AHA Anti-Wrinkle Cream. And it's really inexpensive and really good, she said. Moisturizers are the most complicated part of the cosmetics industry, she said, because they can be called, like, I don't know, anti-wrinkle, extra moisturizing. I mean, you know, there's a million anti-gravity creams. There's a million names for a moisturizer. And she said it doesn't matter what they're called, but what matters is what's in them. So once again, she says look for the antioxidants A, C, and E. And 3 that she talked about that were good are Olay Daily Regenerist, Clinique Moisture and Control, and Bobbi Brown Intensive Skin Supplement. She also has a tip about dry lips. She said, her words, not mine, she said, you will never have dry lips again if you follow these tips. She said, wear whatever you want during the day, your lipstick, your lip gloss. Then what's important is last thing before you go to bed, apply one of these recommended lip products: Prescriptive's Lip Specialist, Neutrogena Lip Nutrition, or L'Oreal Bare Natural Gentle Lip Conditioner. The first 2, the Prescriptives and the Neutrogena, are in a little pot with a screw top lid. The L'Oreal looked like a lip gloss in a tube. Here's why I'm skeptical. I mean, I don't know, maybe she lives in a tropical climate with lots of humidity, but my lips get so dry if I am just putting on lipstick or lip gloss during the day. I have to be using a moisturizing product throughout the day. And so I'm just skeptical that, you know, using a balm right before you go to bed is gonna do the trick, but maybe worth a shot. Okay, next we are gonna talk about acne. Acne happens when your hair follicle, so like, you know, the million hair, little peach fuzz hairs you have on your face, when the hair follicle at the root gets plugged up and then sebum builds up and becomes pus. It said acne breaks down your defense from the sun, which I did not realize. So you need to use a sunscreen, just not a moisturizing one, but a gel sunscreen. And then if you have acne, you should be using an oil-free moisturizer, a simple cleanser that's not too harsh. You should address the bacteria, but not with, like the woman on the show had been washing her face with antibacterial hand soap. So that's a no-no. Oil-free makeup, Retin-A is a really good product. And then don't be a slave to marketing. This is not just acne advice, this is advice for us all. Don't be a slave to marketing, actually look at the ingredients in a product. Dr. Oz says also it's really important for your skin to eat the right fats and oils. So I believe most Americans eat like an unhealthy balance of omega-6s to 3s, I think. And so he says concentrate on getting more omega-3s, less omega-6s. So foods that are good for your face and I suppose the skin all over your body. Legumes, avocados, soybeans, and nuts were the ones he mentioned, and it's because they all have biotin. Now, a deficiency in biotin, he said, can cause dermatitis, like an extreme itching of your skin and flaking and dryness. Salmon is really good for your skin because of the carotenoids that improve skin's elasticity. Tomatoes, really good for the skin. The lycopene in tomatoes can actually prevent sunburn. And you want to eat them with some fat source. So if you're eating tomatoes, it's really good to have them like with olive oil because that helps your body absorb the lycopene in the tomatoes. Pomegranates help you produce more collagen. And that's it for the foods that he talked about. So next topic is bags under your eyes. So everyone has fat under their eyes naturally. So what happens when you have not just like a swelling puffy eye, but an actual permanent bag under your eye, what happens is the fat under your eye begins to herniate. Like literally he used the word ooze. The fat oozes out of its like fat pocket, and because of gravity, you know, and so then you have like a fat pocket just like out of place. And then of course stress and inflammation can cause more swelling on top of that. And he said creams can make them less visible. Cold presses, you know, there's a million kind of like anything from all natural, just slice up a cucumber and put it on your eye, or even a cold spoon. And then of course they make creams and things. But he says those are all short-term solutions. The only long-term solution for bags under your eyes is plastic surgery. And he said it's probably the safest of all the invasive, you know, plastic surgery procedures, which I thought was interesting. Okay, next subject is hair and what our hair can tell us about our health. So hair loss, if you're experiencing hair loss, what is it? It's about the changing ability of the bulbs to grow good hairs. That's what causes hair loss. And he says you should treat your hair like a fine silk blouse that got wet. So he emphasized being really gentle with your hair, and it'll fray if you're harsh with it, like a blouse will. You know, your hair will get split ends and break off and things. He says it gives a lot of clues to physicians about what's happening on the inside, because you produce new hair cells every single day. All the time you're constantly producing new hair cells, so it can give a, you know, an immediate indicator of some health issues, I guess. One of the best things you can do for your hair, these are Dr. Oz's words. One of the best things you can do for your hair, not a hair product at all, it's get a charcoal filter for your shower head. So he actually had one on the show that he showed, and it's just like a Brita filter. You unscrew your shower head, put the filter in there, and screw it back on, because he says the chlorine in our water is super damaging to our hair. So if you install a charcoal filter in your shower, it cuts down on the chlorine that'll be present in the water, which will damage your hair less. He also said it's super important for moms to have charcoal filters, because you know, young children sitting in bathtubs of chlorinated water can be dangerous, because chlorine, once it gets inside the body, like turns into another chemical. He didn't elaborate on that, but there you go. Okay, so he says chlorine is very drying to your hair, and he said if you're in a lot of sunlight, you should cover your hair, because sun actually fries your hair, which I thought was so interesting. Like, I never think about covering up my hair in the sun, but he says to do it. Let's see. Then Paula, again, who wrote the book Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me. Paula had another segment talking about styling tools for hair. She said products to protect from heat damage or reduce heat damage during heat styling that are good have silicone in them. So silicone is the important ingredient to look for when you're looking for a product to reduce hair damage during heat styling. And she gave two examples, the Citra Shine Serum and Got to Be Crazy Sleek. So those were her two examples. She talked about flat irons. She said the secret with flat irons is to go through your hair really quickly rather than like holding it on one spot. And she said get a flat iron you can use on wet or damp hair, because the steam vents off your hair instead of boiling in there, and it reduces damage. Oh, and she said make sure your hair dryer has 1875 watts, because a higher wattage dries your hair with less heat exposure. How that works, I don't know, but that's what she said. As far as hairbrushes go, she said get the kind with the rubber tip on top, you know, like a bobby pin. Because if they don't have the rubber tip, then when you're like putting your hairbrush in at the root, it actually chips away at the cuticle of your hair. Who knew? And then she said if you're gonna like comb through your hair after your shower, for example, to have a wide tooth, soft plastic comb. Let's see. Then she talks about hair thinning or falling out, hair loss, like if you have clumps of hair coming out when you shower or when you go through it with a comb. There was a woman on the show that had this situation and was asking why, like what's going on. And so the first question that was asked of her was, have you had any major illnesses recently? And she said no. So Dr. Oz actually sent her to get a blood test and a biophysical, and they found elevated markers of inflammation and allergies and a pituitary issue, a pituitary gland issue that was causing her hair loss. So I guess the important thing he said was, if you're experiencing all of a sudden significant hair loss, then see a doctor, because it could be an indicator of something more. Okay. Yeah. So you make hair cells every single day. So the bulb that produces hair has been affected if something is going wrong. Lots of beauty things are indicators of health. Dr. Oz says we shampoo way too often. He said unless you're working under a car every day, you don't need to be shampooing your hair. He said only wash it when it's dirty. And also for your hair, he emphasized getting omega-3 fats and B vitamins. Okay, then, next topic is all about feet. Foot care, fungus, feet. Okay. So there was a woman on the show, and she said, and she had like they showed a picture, her toenails looked terrible, you know. And she said the first thing she noticed was she would polish her toenails and they would burn. And then when she would take the polish off, she noticed her toenails were getting really yellow underneath. So she took an over-the-counter fungus thing, whatever it was, and it didn't work. And Dr. Oz said, first of all, like the reason, for example, our fingernails don't get fungus, but our toenails do, is because our fingers stay dry. And they're exposed to the sunlight, and UV radiation in the sunlight actually kills, bacteria. And so our feet don't see the sunlight as much, and they're in a moist environment, which, is the exact environment fungus wants to grow in. So he said, keep them dry, expose them to the sun. And he said the only thing to treat toe fungus is an oral pill, like a prescription, but it can cause liver failure. And he was like, nobody's ever died of toe fungus, so, make sure you're really careful about that. But he said what a lot of people think is fungus is actually just an infection around the nail. And what you can do for that is soak your feet in vinegar or tea tree oil, which could cure if you have an infection, but it will not cure fungus. Okay, bunions. The only reason to operate on bunions is, well, he said there are 3 reasons: pain, pain, and pain. So that's the only reason to operate. It's not an easy surgery to come back from. He thinks, his estimation is that 90% of bunions are hereditary. So what it actually is like when you have naturally splayed out foot bones, and then you are squeezing them into narrow shoes, especially exacerbated if you have over a 2-inch heel, because then that's putting more pressure downward. So it makes your bones actually grow in the wrong direction. So in the surgery, they cut the bone and reset it and stuff. So more feet advice. Paula, our good friend, has a tip for dry heels. This is interesting. I had never heard this before. Now, I almost bought, Clarisonic came out with an exfoliating foot oil with glycolic acid in it or something, and I almost bought it. Now I'm so glad I didn't, because it's pretty expensive. I think it's $25. But they have a 2% salicylic acid solution, and so which is exfoliating. So you rub a salicylic acid pad over your heel at night, and then over top of that, you apply one of 3 things: 100% cocoa butter, or Vaseline, or Eucerin, which is a brand name of just a really thick emollient lotion. And she said, really, really layer it on, sleep with socks on, and then she said, after about a week, you'll never have dry heels again. Her words, not mine. Okay, next topic is bad breath, everybody. First of all, Dr. Oz said, if you're ever offered a mint, accept it, because somebody's trying to tell you something. So it's not just them being nice saying, hey, would you like a mint? But you really should take the mint if you're offered one. That's Dr. Oz's advice. It's hard to smell bad breath yourself. He said a lot of it actually comes from your stomach, so digestion issues happening or like bacteria, and then like the odor it causes actually just comes out of your mouth, giving you bad breath. You can also have outpouchings in your like esophagus and in your tonsils, he said, where food gets stuck, like trapped in these little outpouchings, and it rots. So that's what smells. He also says gingivitis can be a cause of bad breath, and a big cause is bacteria on your tongue. He said a lot of people brush their tongue with their toothbrush as they're brushing their teeth, and that's not effective. What is effective, however, is one of those tongue scrapers you can buy. So that's what he recommends. Also, he didn't say anything about this, but I have a product. It's like comes like a supplement, you know, with vitamins, like with the vitamins, but it's just little capsules of peppermint and spearmint oil, and you can take them like if you're eating something with a lot of garlic or onions, and it like works in your stomach to neutralize whatever the odor is, so that the odor never comes up out of your stomach. And then the last issue they talked about, an oldie but a goodie, cellulite. Okay, what is cellulite? So Dr. Oz explained, and he had a graphic and everything, fat cells, which are next to arteries, like arteries are like leaking extra nutrients, and so these fat cells are absorbing extra nutrients from the arteries next to them, and the fat cells themselves are getting plump and swollen and fat, and they get bigger, and as they get bigger, they suck more blood supply to them, and so they keep getting bigger like balloons. Now, there are little fibers, like fibrous, tendony things, that hold skin to muscle, but they're just like bands, and so they're like stretching to the max, trying to hold the fat cell down, and the fat cells pushing out skin from muscle beneath it are only tied down by these ropes, he called them, and he said, you can't cure it. Nothing works. Creams don't work, nothing works. Literally, and Oprah stopped him and said, wait a second. So you're saying there is not one cellulite cream that works? And he said, no, nothing works. Most of the creams, like, or even the treatments, like do a lot of like squeezing and pounding, and it like causes swelling all over, which diminishes the appearance of the pockets of cellulite. And the same thing, I think, with creams, that's what they do. They claim to increase circulation, which can, you know, like smooth the look of cellulite, but there's nothing that cures it. And Oprah said, well, can you suck it out? And actually, there was also a dermatologist on the show along with Dr. Oz, and she said that liposuction can make it worse. That there's some kind of liposuction where they do it like while they like are sucking while using an ultrasound, because you have to suck really strategically, like around these bands or whatever. So basically, he said about cellulite, like, get over it. It's a fact of life, and men don't care. So hey, embrace it. And that was it for the show. I thought it was really interesting, and there were some things in there that I had never heard before, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. And thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.